everyone, and welcome back. There's been a lot of talk online in the past weeks, first regarding the Mono box set and the issues that some of the box sets had when they were re-released now in 2025. Then a lot of talk about the Beatles Anthology reissue with the new mixes, with Anthology 4 coming up. Lately, there's also been a lot of talk regarding the new Wings box set and the new Wings compilations that will come out. And then in the past at least 1 or 2 weeks, people have started reacting to the fact that finally Apple and Universal seem to have listened to the fan base and decided to also release Anthology 4 separately as a separate 3-record album as well as the double CD. But today, even though I'm gonna give you some updates on both of those main points of discussions from the past few months, the Beatles in Mono box set and the Anthology release, today I actually want to talk about my alternative to the Beatles in Mono box set from 2014 and the one from 2025. And though this seems like it houses the stereo collection, as this is the blue box that normally houses the BC13, the Beatles collection from the 70s and 80s, this in fact houses my alternative to the Mono collection, which is a compiled set of the Beatles in Mono Japanese issues from the 80s. So if you're curious on what versions of the records I have in here, how they look, how they sound, and why I decided to compile this alternate collection aside from the Beatles in Mono box set that I already have, stick around. But before we go into that, let's touch upon a little bit on what has been happening in the past few weeks with the Beatles in Mono box set and the Anthology, just to give you an update from my side as well. I didn't really feel the need to record a special video for the fact that Beatles Anthology 4 has been announced as a separate release. Many people have done it and they have explained everything that is going on. From my perspective, I wasn't really intending on buying the vinyl box set anyway, at least not at this stage. It seemed to me like it was expensive, and even though you have remastered versions of the first 3 anthologies, and I understood that you also have some actual new mixes even on those as well, it just wasn't, it wasn't justifying the price point for me at this moment. I did pre-order the CD box set because it was a little bit cheaper and I really got a discount. I think on a German website. I'm trying to remember where I ordered it from. I think it wasn't from the Beatles store. It was from a German, record shop. And I had a discount there, and I managed to get it at a discount and with relatively cheap transport from Germany to Romania. So I said, okay, fine, I will get it. I wanted to have the Anthology 4. I wanted to have the new mixes of Real Love and Free as a Bird. So that kind of fit, what I actually needed. And with that, I would have gotten as well the new remasters of the first 3 anthologies on CD, which was fine for me. When they announced that they would release Anthology 4 on CD and vinyl separately, which is what they should have done in the first place, I think everybody agrees on that. It kind of made sense for me. Initially I thought I would just return the CD box set and get the CD separately, but then I realized, the price difference is not that huge, I guess, and the new one is coming in like this type of digipack. It wouldn't fit with the fat boxes that I have from the 90s of the first 3 anthologies, so I couldn't set it beside them and kind of have it visually make sense. Audibly, I would have been fine, I guess. I could live without the new remasters of the first 3 anthologies. But then I thought, okay, it's a complete box set, let's just get them. This way I will also see, on my system at home, how the remastered versions of the 3 anthologies, initial anthologies sound, how the new mixes are sounding, aside from listening to them on streaming. So fine, I said I would keep that. But I did decide to pre-order as well the vinyl version of Anthology 4. And right now I'm pretty happy with just getting that. I don't think I need the full vinyl versions of the first 3 as well. We'll see in the future. I'm pretty sure this is not going to be super successful in terms of sales, because I think it's not as popular as general public intended as, let's say, the red and the blue albums, and at the same time, definitely I think not as expected by fans as the mono box set was. So I'm pretty sure this will still be purchasable in the next years, but we'll see. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So that's about the anthology. I wanted to mention before we go to the main subject of today a little bit about the mono box set as well, just to let you know that I've been keeping in touch with the Universal Music support contacts that I have on email, and I've tried to make sure that they're still intending to send the replacement records that they promised to a lot of people, including myself. The conversations that I've had with their contacts on support or through email were pretty good, so they seem to understand, they seem to really be interested in the issues that we've had with what records we had the issues. They did take the pictures and the sort of videos that I had sent them through email, and apparently they checked them out because they came back with feedback. And so a few of the records, especially the ones that had like physical issues on them, and some of them like the White Album also had audible issues, they said that they would replace, and they put a target for that somewhere at the end of September. Because the end of September was coming close, I wrote them an email a few days ago, and they replied almost, I think, the same day, saying, you know, it's still, the plan is still to send a replacement, but they don't have a shipping date yet. It's fine. I'm going to wait around until the beginning of October and try to get in touch with them again. In the end, I'm pretty sure that at least the people in support, they are trying to do the right thing. I'm pretty sure that they also would not promise these things if they were not real, because that causes other issues for them, right? They're a big company. They shouldn't like be promising things and then doubling down on the promise and then not keeping it. So right now I'm optimistic about that. We will see what comes up out of it, but that's the state. When those will come, if they will come, I will definitely have an unboxing and showcase video just to see, and hopefully other people will as well, just to see how the replacements fare against the originals that they send in the box set itself. But enough with the box sets, the anthology and the Beatles in Mono box set. Now, today, I said I wanted to talk a little bit about the Japanese mono issues of the Beatles albums from the 1980s. And I'm just going to start a little bit talking about Japanese pressings in general. Then we're going to go through kind of the reasons for which I ended up having this box set and how it kind of came about. And we're just going to be looking at some of the records as well. But first, to start with Japanese pressings, at least for me as a newcomer into this area of record collecting and CD collecting in the past years, you know, you come to learn a lot by reading a lot of online, posts on forums and Reddits, subreddits, and watching videos and so on. And there's a lot of collectors, like decades-old collectors, right, and specialists really in this area of vinyl that can, already have vouched for how the Japanese records are, as opposed to pressings from the UK, US, and other countries, and especially in this case Beatles records as well. And there are a couple of things that these collectors, experts, specialists, and just like music fans have stated over and over, and it seems like it's a general opinion by this point, which is that there are a couple of things that are very specific to Japanese pressings that everybody kind of generally seems to agree upon. One is related to the quality of the product itself, so the physical product. So starting with the vinyl, how well it is pressed, how clean it is, how well it handles over time. Then with the packaging that is used and the rest of the elements that are included in these releases, as opposed to their counterparts in the UK, US, Germany, Australia, and so on. So starting with the quality, I think everybody kind of agrees that vinyl quality for Japanese records from the 70s and 80s is superior to most other releases in terms of vinyl quality from other countries, including UK, US, and all of the others that I mentioned. That is because they were using a special type of vinyl. They labeled it as such, they promoted it as such. And looking at some of the pressings that I've bought, and not only about talking about these mono records, but also some other Japanese pressings that I have, not many, but a few, it's confirmed the quality that they were using. I mean, the vinyl seems to be very good quality. This also might be sort of a statement about how Japanese collectors and buyers from the 70s and 80s have kept these records, because it might be a statement as well to their capacity to take care of these products and handle them with care, which might be also part of the reason for why they look and sound as good as they do even today, 30, 40, 50 years later. But overall, it does seem like it's an agreed upon fact. Quality of the vinyl itself is excellent, and most of these records to me sound very silent, not only compared to, again, UK, US counterparts, but just on their own. Like, even compared to new records, sometimes they sound absolutely clean and pristine. So clearly there's something with the vinyl as well. Then when we talk about the packaging, most, if not all, of these records come with obligatory poly or like raised paper inner sleeves that do minimal scratching or scuffing to the records, and they seem to protect them very well. They seem to be better with static, and the outer covers are usually printed, and even in the years where some record covers have started to be printed on lesser quality paper, these ones always have like very good, it seems to me, quality cardboard. They seem to be holding up very well. I'm looking at this 1982 rubber sole. I mean, it looks pristine, and you will see the other ones in the box set as well. It still looks pristine now. It's just excellent from most perspectives if you look at it, and it doesn't come undone. There's no like ungluing. I have the Revolver box set from 2022, the vinyl box set, and already the covers for the stereo and mono albums in that box set are coming undone. So even though they have no flip backs like the original mono UK pressings of the Beatles albums, these ones hold up very well, whereas new ones sometimes don't hold up as well. So it is clearly true. The last thing is related to the other contents that these albums have. So they normally come with the inner sleeve, which is protective. They also come with outer sleeves, which are resealable, most of them. And most of them come with these very specific add-ons to the album itself, which are the Obi strip. There's a lot of information online. People who don't know can get this information. Basically, it's an informational strip about the album, about even the collection that it's maybe a part of, that is mostly in Japanese. But that is gives a very unique look to these Japanese releases. And at the same time, they come with usually with an inner leaflet, which is, I'm going to take this one out just for you to take a look at it while I'm speaking about it, which normally contains some of the, let's say, liner notes about or details about the album, track listing and such, and other times, or many times, it contains the lyrics of the songs. Often this information might be printed in English and Japanese, or sometimes just in Japanese, but they're quite because they're always there in most of the albums. Now, the other thing about these Japanese albums that is seems to be now like a preconception already, or maybe it's become like common knowledge because of the testing that all of these collectors and specialists have done year after year in the past decades, which is that the sound on these albums, even though clean, is not always up to the level of the original album counterpart, whether it's a UK, US, again, German, Australian pressing. And there are, again, here as well, a couple of things that they mentioned. So one is, of course, you might have in Japan these albums being pressed using third, fourth generation tapes. But that might not be the biggest issue. The biggest issue that collectors and music fans have is with the sound itself, and the fact that it appears that people who are mastering and remastering and creating the the matrices for these pressings in Japan, they were not necessarily leaving the music as it was coming from the master tape or from the original album, but actually they were intervening with the EQ and kind of modifying the sound here and there. And so the stampers that they are using for many of these albums are said to produce on the vinyl album a sound that is not as close as it should be to the original, to the intended version of the album itself. specifically to Beatles records, but actually for others as well. One recurrent theme that comes up is the fact that these albums, the sound is rather thin, that the lower end is kind of cut, so you kind of have lower bass and you know, lower end instruments. So this is, I mean, I've seen this time and time again in forums, on Reddits, in videos, people mentioning that. However, there are quite a few also mentioning that this is not like a general thing applied to all of the albums. In fact, there are maybe albums which benefit from some of the adjustments that they are doing there in Japan that sound even better because of those adjustments, but some, obviously, the ones which have a significant lower end component to them, might not sound as well. They might sound, again, thin, as people are saying. Now, I can partially confirm that, but from my experience, I would not reject this hypothesis regarding most of Japanese pressings of not only Beatles, but overall. But I will reject it with regards to the ones that I got mostly. So aside from the albums on the box set I'm going to show you, which are the, again, mono issues of reissues of the Beatles albums from the 80s from Japan, I did buy a few other Japanese pressings of Beatles records, and I have also a couple of Japanese pressings of other records, such as a couple of Led Zeppelin albums, which I actually showed, I think, on the channel before. And at least for these, the mono ones, the Led Zeppelin ones, they sound excellent to me, and I will go through some more details of that. But they sound excellent. They don't sound thin at all. They seem to have been balanced properly. Some of them sound very close to their UK original counterparts, at least to my ears, or from what I was able to compare, which means that in some cases those things that they were applying did not really apply, or were not really applied. And the reasons for why they were actually changing these, some people are speculating it's because in Japan walls of the apartments or houses are thin and people could hear each other very well, and you know, they were trying to be more polite towards, you know, their you know, neighbors and so on, and so they kind of lowered the bass and stuff so that they don't disturb their neighbors too much when they're listening to music. Maybe, I don't know, I didn't really go into this too much. It's an interesting topic, but it's not the focus of this video. But at the end, I can say that at least some albums do not fall into that category. Now, from the ones that I've bought, leaving aside these mono albums and the Led Zeppelin ones that I mentioned, I bought a few other Beatles albums, mostly compilations. There were reasons for why I bought them from Japan, and I will touch upon that and talk about them and actually see where the preconceptions that already exist apply to Beatles records in a future video. But for this one, we're going to just focus on this mono collection that I built. Now, just going to go a little bit through how this collection came about for me, because if you've watched this channel from the beginning, or at least you retroactively watched some of the initial videos I've uploaded, you saw that my beginnings in collecting started with CDs actually, and I was quite focused on that, and I didn't, for at least maybe a year, I didn't really want to think about vinyl, because buying the equipment that went with it, that required me to have like a decent equipment to listen to proper quality records, and finding quality records, especially you know, the full analog ones, and finding them in near mint condition and so on, was a bit of a hassle, and it has proved a hassle, but it does reward you know, the buyer, the collector. Yeah, you know, as collecting goes, it is rewarding in the end. But initially I wasn't planning on it, so it was kind of gradual. And when I started collecting vinyl, I started with stereo, because the mono, at least at the time, felt to me prohibitive, and I thought it's very difficult for me to search and find proper albums, proper pressings at decent pricing, and you know, having to deal with all of that. Initially I thought I would absolutely need a mono cartridge. It seemed like the quality ones were expensive, so there were a lot of things that were preventing me. But at a certain point during the collecting, I said, okay, let me just get a couple of them, right? A couple of the mono records. And I thought, okay, from the Beatles albums, which are the ones that are, let's say, a must hear in mono. Like the mono is not only the definitive mix, but it's also something that you must have in a collection, and which are the albums that I like the most. And then Rubber Soul was my first choice, and then there were others like Revolver, Sgt Pepper. So I started with Rubber Soul. I got a copy from 2014, which was pretty good, but it had a few defects on it. I sold it, you know, I had to lose some money on it because I was kind of honest when I sold it. I said, listen, it has like a couple of defects on it. I bought a replacement. The replacement was good, thankfully. Then I thought about Revolver. It seemed like it was expensive. Like I would have to pay maybe €100 for the Revolver record from the 2014 pressing, because the older ones, if I wanted to get a near mint, it would have been more expensive. But then I found the box set at an even lower price than that, and I thought, okay, what's the point in buying just like an 80s or even 2014 Revolver when I can buy the 2022 box set? It has the mono version of the album, it has the new stereo mix, it has the book, so I can have a double copy of the book and all of the other records in it. So I chose that as well. And then I thought about Sgt Pepper. So I found a 1969 pressing of Sgt Pepper, actually from the UK, which was, I mean, the quality of the pressing and the sound was very good, but the record was not really near mint as it was advertised. It was barely very good plus in my ears because it had constant crackles. Even though they were not too loud, they still kind of bothered me because I wanted to have a clean copy. So again, I had to sell that in the end, but I kept it for a little while and listened to it, and it did sound excellent. And then I also wanted to get a Hard Day's Night. I forget now what was the reason. I maybe had read online that Hard Day's Night is a must hear in mono as well, and I had the CD, but when it comes to vinyl. So I was trying to look online, and the best version that I found, which had very good reviews on Discogs, and it was mentioned elsewhere as well, but also had a decent pricing for a said near mint copy, was the Japanese issue from 1982. So I said, okay, let's go for it. Let's see what is, you know, what's this whole Japanese record sounding thin thing all about. I received it. It was very well packaged, and it looked really, really good. As you can see it here, I'm gonna just take it out. I'm kind of show this to you, and then we're gonna get to see the others as well. But if you're looking at it, I mean, it looks so good. Only on the back and on like very white portions, it does have some browning and some spots, but otherwise it kind of looks really, really nice, especially the front. The colors are still there. The sort of cover is intact in the sense that there's no rips, no tears. It doesn't seem like it comes unglued. It has a little bit of a bent corner here. I don't get bothered by that too much, but it looked really good. And then I took the vinyl out. You know, the record looks good because all of these records from the 80s, they have this very beautiful translucent, red translucent color, and they all look so nice. And I said, okay, you know, I was looking at it, I couldn't find any scratches. That's one of the things about these records, these translucent red records. It's very difficult to actually see scratches or scuffs, even if they are there. You have to look in very specific lighting and angles and so on. But you can hear them, right, if you put the record on. I put this record on and it sounded exquisite. It started, I mean, I think this was one of the few at that moment actually near mint copies of a record that I had gotten. Despite buying mostly near mint, this one really sounded like it. There was almost no surface noise, even in the in the silent passages between tracks or at the beginning. It was incredible. But one thing that surprised me, even from the first song, A Hard Day's Night, was how punchy it was. I didn't feel any lightness of the sound or anything like that. It sounded extremely, extremely good. And then I put on the CD from the 2009 box set just to check a little. There were not too many differences aside from the CD being obviously a little bit louder. So I was quite impressed by this, and I thought, okay, people are misjudging these records or Japanese records. Maybe not in general. Maybe in general they're right, but with regards of the 1980s mono pressings, they don't sound to me like they were, destroyed with EQ. Maybe EQ was applied. I will not say. I don't have the years of like Andrew from Parlophone. I'm not, or his experience, by the way, or other people who have judged these. But so they definitely, their opinion probably stands. But for me, this didn't sound like they were inferior in any way to, let's say, the 2014 versions of the mono albums. So from that moment, I thought, okay, these Japanese albums are not bad. And I thought the way that I will build my collection is I will look online. I'll try to find either copies from Japan from 82 or 86, or copies from 2014, the ones that were released through the box set back then, or even separately. and build my mono collection that way. One record from here, one record from there, depending on where I find it at a seller that has very good reviews, where the price is decent, and they're near mint. And so I started building the collection this way, and in a few months, I think maybe like almost a year, I managed to gather the whole set, including Mono Masters, and later on including Yellow Submarine, which was a unique release to in mono to these box sets in Japan. It wasn't reproduced in 2014 because, in fact, that one is not actually real mono. It's a fold down of the stereo mix. So I got all of those different variations. So some of them were from 2014, some of them were from Japan. Some copies that I got I wasn't happy with. I sold them and bought a replacement, which sometimes I sold a Japanese one and got a 2014 one, or the other way around. Then the box set came, the 2025, FOMO and all of that. I pre-ordered it, I got it, and then I thought I will start selling from the records that I already had. I thought I would keep maybe Rubber Soul, because it's my favorite album. It's the one album where I'm feeling okay having 4 or 5 copies of it, to be honest. But then, after a while, and after unboxing the 2025 box set, seeing the issues, and actually going back a little bit to these Japanese records that I already had, I don't know, something started to stir inside my brain, telling me, I was kind of like Bilbo Baggins at the beginning of Fellowship of the Ring. Like, after all, why shouldn't I keep these? Why shouldn't I complete this collection, this Japanese mono collection? So, I started to look around. I said, okay, let me first look which records I still have left from those Japanese, which I haven't sold. And let me look around and see what are the ones that are missing from the set. And I will only sell the 2014 copies of mono albums that I still had, and I will keep the Japanese ones and complete the set with the missing ones. From the 2014 ones, I only kept Rubber Soul. I also liked it because it had the hype sticker, and it was, I think, the first one that I got in mono. It's my favorite album again, and I always think I will need a spare for Rubber Soul, just because I like to listen to this album a lot. I will play it more than the others probably, and so it's good to have it in rotation, right? And keep at least one copy pristine, or as much as I can. But then for the Japanese ones, I realized I had some, but some I was obviously missing. So what I had were, at that time, Please Please Me, A Hard Day's Night, which I showed you a little bit earlier, Beatles For Sale, I had Rubber Soul. I will tell you a little story about that as well, because I replaced the copy that I had in the meantime. And then I had Sgt Pepper's. I also had before bought the White Album, but I had sold that copy, which was, I would say it was a mistake, because it was one of the ones that is more difficult to find in good quality and at a decent price. However, I was not unhappy, because I sold it to a guy who seems to be like a very big fan as well, which is quite rare to find in Romania, and who appreciated buying this and was enjoying it and was very happy. And just having him write to me how happy he is about it and how much he enjoys it, I don't know, I just felt no regret whatsoever. I just went back and started looking for another copy, and I felt no regret. And when talking about Rubber Soul, I mean this 1982 copy, which looks absolutely excellent, like the the Hard Day's Night that I showed you before. This one also has the OB strip. The Hard Day's Night came without it. I didn't mind it too much. I would have liked to have it, but it's okay. But this one looks even better, I think. It has no corners bent, no marks, no nothing. The OB strip also looks quite excellent. Even the spine, it has a little bit of a dent here, but overall it looks nice, and it's really, really clean. And the record did sound excellent and was clean. The problem was, it had a small thing, which I don't know if the seller knew when he sold it or not. Maybe not. It's very difficult to see. I couldn't find the issue until I actually looked with very strong LED lighting, and in a certain position I managed to find it. But at the beginning of Nowhere Man, so kind of where You Won't See Me ends and Nowhere Man starts, and between the tracks, there are like 4 or 5 aggregate small scratches. You can barely see them, like I said, only if you put it under certain lighting. But unfortunately, those very small scratches are causing some pops. They're not super strong, but they're strong enough. Right at the end of You Won't See Me, they don't catch too much of that song. They definitely catch the in between songs grooves, and then at the beginning of Nowhere Man, maybe a few rotations.
He's a real Noah, sitting in his nowhere land, making...
So it's like maybe 6 or 7 or 8 small pops, maybe a few, that are lasting a few seconds. But I don't know, I just had it, like it stayed on my brain. Like all of the other records that I managed to gather, and I'll tell you about it, were sounding so clean. And I was thinking, this is my absolute favorite, and this one has a little bit of that stuff in there. I could have probably lived with it, but I said, okay, listen, I'll put some money aside, and I'll try to find another copy. And so after that, the last part, which I thought, okay, let me close the loop on this, was to try to find a replacement for Rubber Soul, to see if I can find one that doesn't have that issue with no remand. I managed to find one that was rated mint, and I want to say that that was one impressive thing for me buying this as well, was how the seller of that record packaged it, because it was amazing. I rarely see, I see some very nice, thoughtful packaging, and for some of the records, especially the ones that you are buying that cost like more than 50, 60, 70 dollars or euro, you know, the sellers, first of all, should grade properly, because those are not cheap. Like if you're buying a record that is, a single record is over 50 euro or 60 euro, and it's not like a first pressing or anything, and it's rated near mint, it should be really near mint, and it should be packaged properly. And sometimes they don't do it. But especially if you're buying a record that is over 100 euro or more, I think it's even more so important that the packaging is up to snuff. And definitely the guy who sent me the Rubber Soul, which you will see from the box set, it's not this one, it's the 86 one, was packaged properly. So first of all, the cover was put in a separate resealable outer sleeve, Japanese outer sleeve, with the inner, and of course the obi strip, but also the inner leaflet inside. The record was put in a inner sleeve, mobile fidelity archival quality sleeve, and that one was put also separately in a resealable outer sleeve. Then each of these two packets, the cover with the extras and the record separately, were enveloped in bubble wrap, and then he had put 2 corrugated square pieces of material on each side of each of these 2 packets, and then put them together, and then some more bubble wrap, and then it was again they were again fixed by 2 external pieces of corrugate, and then put in the box. So all of these things made so that the record came in perfect condition. It barely even moved in the box, but it was also protected from scratches, from any kind of scuffs. Put the record on the record player. I didn't even need to dust it, and it still sounded almost exquisitely clean. Only when I dusted it once, and it sounded like it was new. So indeed, it was kind of, I don't know if I should say it was mint, but it was as close as to mint as possible for a record that is, well, 40 years old now. So let's take a look at the records. I repackaged most of them, so they had those resealable outer sleeves. I love those. I like how the Japanese had thought of putting these in those sleeves, and the fact that they are really protecting the record better, and the outer. This is how I feel like they're protecting the sleeve and the record better. But they are risky, and it did happen to me, to a pristine copy of 1980s Please Please Me from the UK, where I took them out, and because I wasn't like paying attention of how I placed the cover of the record, the sleeve remained kind of opened, the outer sleeve, the resealable one, and the seal, the adhesive seal, was stuck to the cover of the record. I tried to pull it out as carefully as possible, but it ripped some of the paper on the sleeve. So I thought, okay, I would like to have them, to keep them in those resealable sleeves, but maybe I'm not the best person to kind of handle the records in those sleeves, and maybe, you know, just to not risk it, I just use some regular outer sleeves. But as you will see, all of these look excellent. So let's start with Please Please Me. This one is one that I got without the OB. You saw the front is perfect. You have the Odeon logo on the top right side here. Otherwise, it looks perfect to me. And the back, and you will see these for some of these records, which is really amazing. Even though it's mostly white, and right, it should be already browned and yellowed by time, and some of them do have, a darker tint to them, maybe grayish, maybe brownish, yellowish. But many of them you will see look as new, which for me is absolutely exceptional. And the one thing that I like for most of these, I was saying earlier, I hope you can see it, if not I'll try to add it in post, are the spines, which some of them look excellent. Then the records, at the surface, all of them actually look pristine and new, but I told you it is difficult on these red translucent vinyl records to actually see scratches unless they are like super deep. So I will say that maybe some of them have some scuffs, but I wasn't really able to see them. And the only one that I had like real problems with was that 82 copy of Rubber Soul, which I bought a replacement for. All of them have, even the ones from 82 or 86, have this sort of silverish on dark gray or black EMI Odeon labels, which are very specific to Japan for that period. And I was saying that the 82 ones and the 86 ones actually have slightly different matrices, stamped on them, but they sound exactly the same. And I can tell you this because I had some 82 and 86 copies of some of these. Most of them I didn't have them at the same time, but Rubber Soul is one that I still have both copies of. I listened to it as much as I could, say, side by side, and they both seem to sound identical to me. So it tells me that even if the 86 matrices are slightly different, they maybe had still used the same source. Worth mentioning as well that the way that this was recorded online, at least on Discogs, but some other places as well, it is said, first of all, we know that these 82 and 86 reissues of the Beatles albums in mono were done in limited edition with 10,000 copies, it seems, of each of them. So in 82, 10,000 copies, 86, 10,000 copies. Some of them were part of a box set that was released. The 82 collection was just like the Beatles mono collection, made to mirror the UK release from that same period, whereas the 86 one, and I think I'm gonna just take one of the records to showcase, and we'll be back to it. The 86 one had a different OB variation because it was part of a collection that now it was 20 years ago today, basically celebrating 20 years from 1966 when the Beatles had their concert in Japan. And so these ones had this slightly different OB strip. Now, another thing that was discussed online and was mentioned, and it is mentioned on the pages in Discogs for some of these records, is that apparently the Japanese, wanting to mirror as much as possible perfectly the release from the 80s from the UK, they requested and used the original UK master tapes. Now, whether that is true or not, I cannot vouch. There were voices that said that probably that didn't happen. Whether these are second, third generation tapes, who the hell knows? Maybe if we'll have somebody who actually knows this information or can vouch for it, will come up online at a certain point. But so far, this is what it is assumed. What I can say though, having copies of some of these albums at the same time as the mono copies from the 2025 box set, some from 2014, and the CDs from 2009, and playing them as much as I could side by side or comparing, I found very little to no difference to my ears, again, it's to my ears, between these 82-86 copies from Japan and the ones from 2014 or 2025 or the CDs from 2009. And the only one that was older than that and was more at the source, like UK presses of these mono albums, was the 1969 version of Sgt Pepper that I had. And it sounded pretty close to this copy that I have of Sgt Pepper from 1982 from Japan. Was it identical? I don't know. I wasn't really able to put both records at the same time, on two different turntables and run from the same system so that I can immediately switch between. I had to take on the record, put it on, and plus the 69 Sgt Pepper also had some surface noise. So anyway, but for me, they sounded perfectly fine. And when I'm trying to also compare these records, what I can do quickly side by side is a comparison of the sound from here to the sound of the CDs from 2009, which used the original masters as well that were used for the 2014 box set. So for those, again, the comparison really didn't make me feel like these were radically different, modified, and indeed it seems to confirm what is said online on Discogs and elsewhere, that these are very, very close to the original UK counterparts. Now, continuing with the series, we have With the Beatles. This one is one that looks absolutely pristine, and I'm gonna show it to you. So it has some ring wear a little bit here, but if you look at the coloring, you know, at the state of this cover, it is absolutely amazing that this is a 40-year-old record. I mean, look at the back. This is, sometimes it looks like it's whiter than the ones that I could buy nowadays. It's not glossy like some of the issues I think of this cover were or are, or semi-glossy, but it looks absolutely amazing. And the cardboard is very good quality. It's not super thick, but it's good quality and it's stood the test of time clearly. Now, as Please Please Me did not have the OB strip, you can see on this one, this is one with the OB strip from '82, that you have the records listed here as well. Oh, let's not rip the OB strip. You will see this one, this version from '82, has this red record here, and it says, you know, the Beatles original mono record. And you can see the information here will be slightly different on the '86 OB strip. This also has the record sort of catalog number here and the price, which is on all of them, as you will get to see in a few moments. But yeah, this looks absolutely amazing. I'm not going to take all of the records out. I am going to try to take out some of the inners. Some of the inners, like I showed you, they're brown, yellowish, maybe have some spots, but some of them, even, this is like more amazing to me, look absolutely new. It's like somebody printed them yesterday. This is absolutely incredible. I'm going to put the record behind it, so because I think the light will shine through it, but so you can see it better. But it is absolutely amazing how this can, how good this can look. Another quick look at A Hard Day's Night. Again, looking very good. This one without the OB strip. We just have the EMI Odeon label up here. Absolutely excellent. And this one sounds absolutely excellent. It was said that the stereo mix of this is also very good, and it is, but this mono mix on this version of the album is incredible. Next one is Beatles For Sale. This is the only one that is slightly disappointing versus the original. It's not the record. The record sounds absolutely okay. I mean, as a general release, as a mono mix, Beatles For Sale is not the best mono mix that the Beatles have. It is kind of accepted that the stereo mix is slightly better than the mono. But what was slightly disappointing is the quality of the picture on this is not great. As you can see, it's clearly a reproduction of a reproduction, right? It's very fuzzy, very not crisp at all. The colors are slightly different. I don't mind the coloring that much, but it is clear that it's a bad quality image. And the other thing is that this is not a gatefold as normally Beatles For Sale would be. Now, what they did though, so you see we have the mono, 1982 OB strip, looking good. It made it pretty well until 40 years later, 43 years later for this one. And the inner for Beatles For Sale is bigger than some of the other inners of the other albums, and it actually reproduces what would have been the inside part of the gatefold for Beatles For Sale as an album. As you can see with the pictures that we have, with the track listing that was on the original album, basically this would have been, right? This is the inner part of the gatefold for Beatles For Sale, with everything in English, basically reproducing the album perfectly. And then we have the now classic for these albums, Japanese part of the inner, which are the lyrics in English and Japanese and some other details in Japanese. Next one, and I think this is the first one from 1986, which is Help. This is one of the ones, again, like with the Beatles, that I got from that eBay seller. And my God, I mean, this is one, I think this is the one that looks the best, actually. Yeah. So I'm just going to try to get it close. I hope you guys can see it. But this is absolutely amazing. How can a 40-year-old record cover look this good? Like, no spots. It's white. It effectively looks new. It is incredible that somebody kept this way. Obviously, it sounded great, but it's just incredible. The OB strip is also pristine, but yeah, it's absolutely incredible. Here we have an inner which didn't survive this well, but it was definitely, well, actually this one is interesting. So no, it actually looks very good. It has only this inner part which looks kind of brownish, right? And if you look at it, there's a pattern I'm not sure why this got browned this way, because you see the pattern here. I'm not sure if it's like this is the way it came, or it was placed somewhere and it just took the color of something else, because you see you have this rectangle here of white space. It's unclear to me whether this was a defect or it just was stored somewhere and it kind of took some spots or brown color from something, like humidity or whatever. But I can tell you the record is absolutely pristine, and the cover, again, I mean, this is absolutely amazing. I'm sorry for getting so excited still live on camera, but I just cannot get over it looking at it. Absolutely incredible. Next, we have my absolute favorite rubber sole. I'm not sorry that I got this replacement for the 82 one. This is the 86 version, because this again looks absolutely amazing and pristine. Just there is zero defects, marks, scratches, bends, just like ring wear, nothing. And the backside, where you have the white part, which traditionally, and you will see it at Yellow Submarine and some of the others, it gets a little bit spotty here and there. No, this is excellent. I think, the person who said this was mint, they were not lying. It is absolutely perfect in every way. Just to compare it a little bit to the 82, while I still have it, right before I sell it, they're kind of the same. The OB strip is clearly different. I don't know, maybe the color on this one is a little bit stronger, but I just only marginally so, at least to me. I don't know how you guys will see it on camera. I'll see it when I edit later. The back is clearly where the difference is coming from, aside from the OB, because you can see that the 82 one has some browning, yellowing and such. But otherwise, yeah, it looks good as well. But this one, absolutely perfect. Should wear gloves for this one. I wore gloves for some CDs in my earlier videos, which didn't wear it for this one. Yeah. One other thing that I thought would be interesting to see, given that I have these two copies of Rubber Soul at the same time, is how the inners look. So the 82 one, it's obviously looking a little bit worse for wear, but still intact. Is different, and it looks, it's simpler. It's just 2 pages, or actually one page back and front with the lyrics and all of that. The 86 one, better, because it's expanded. The lyrics are better seen, are in English as well. It has more information, at least in Japanese. So yeah, it seems that they did have an upgrade slightly for the 86 ones. One that I didn't think I would get, but I did in the end, the Revolver. Looking absolutely good. This one, of course, has more white parts on the front, so you could actually see how good it looks. I would say superb, if you ask me. The back, the black is looking really good. Let's see the inner. This one has some brownish yellowing at the edges. I think more so on the back side. I'm wondering where the color is coming from, if it's from sticking close to the cover in the inside or the disc, actually. But regardless, it looks good. This one was interesting because it came with something else, which is this leaflet. It was specific to this album, and other albums had it as well, probably. I didn't get them for the others. This is the only one I got them from. It's a feedback form, if I managed to translate it correctly, which is very interesting that they had this. If you're interested what's on this, let me know. I'll make up some photos and try to translate them online. Next one is Sgt Pepper. This was the second or third one that I got, and I ended up keeping it. I mean, look at this thing. Again, another one that looks absolutely excellent. There are some very light spots, I would say, here. It's kind of difficult to see, I would say, because of the coloring of the cover, of course, but I'd say it's just, there are a few of them, but not too visible. Again, the spine, this one being one of the ones with the thicker spine, you can see it's perfect. What I liked about this is an 82 version. I'm not sure how the 86 one is, but the cover is a very thick and very sturdy cardboard. So the other ones have good quality paper or cardboard, but not like this one. This one is thicker. And this one retains the gatefold. And you saw this, I think, on the channel when I did the episode in the Beatles series. The people who are watching or watched it, when I did the episode on Sgt Pepper, so you know that on the yellow part here we do have some spots. But otherwise looking quite good, and the back, the very thick, deep red color, superb. I didn't get any extras from the original. I'm not sure. I didn't really look at it to see if this release had the cutouts that the regular Sgt Pepper had, but it did have the inner again with this nice picture. This was used on the Strawberry Fields Forever and Penny Lane single, if I'm not mistaken, at the time. Next to last, one of the dirtier ones, Yellow Submarine. This obviously, and I mentioned it before at the beginning of the video, this is not an actual mono mix. It's a fold down of the stereo mix. Still, it's part of the collection, and it's an interesting thing to have. It sounds really good. The cover, this one is one of the ones that has most white, and fortunately it also has some spots, as you can see. It has this P sticker here. I didn't want to risk taking it out. And I have no OB for it either, but I'm fine with it, at least so far. Record overall looks the same as the others, and this is the inner. Clearly less lyrics needed. The inner, the back one, and this is the only one that is like this, is white. You only have the lyrics, but you only have a few tracks which have lyrics, so kind of makes sense. And the last one, and one of the hardest ones to find in the wild, a near mint mono copy of the White Album. Again, if you are looking for the 2014 copy or the 2025, but this one I guess it's harder to find separately, right? The 2014 you might find more separately because they were sold separately. Or early 80s UK, and even early 80s to 82 or 86 Japan, it's going to be difficult to find a really near mint copy of this from any of those sources that is below 200 euro nowadays. So you can try, and if you do, let me know if you can find it, and like you can find it in the, you know, the next week's days or so on after the video comes out, or you found it in the last few weeks. But from my searches, you know, it took me a while to find one that was a decent price, and thankfully to actually be near mint when it arrives. So, but yeah, anyway, this one is absolutely excellent. As you can see, it is a white album, and it's truly white. There are a few spots, you can see them at some of the edges, maybe, but not too many. It's slightly glossy, as you can see. This is the 86 version, by the way. Again, I feel like it's very good quality cardboard. It doesn't look to me like where it has been glued, which is here, it will ever come unglued. So it looks good. Still has some spots here and there, but yeah, it's really, really, really nice. And sounds like it too, as well. Let's see what we have. And this one does have the extras, so I got this, you know, paying a premium for this at least comes with all of the other contents of the record. So we have the pictures, you already know them, big nice color pictures of the four Beatles. You also see some black and white variations of them on the inside. The other two things that this holds are the inner. This one is a thicker one, is the thickest one. It has, I guess, 8 pages. Yeah. Actually, oh, I think it's 6 pages, but it's a fold out. It's not like a booklet. It folds like this, because you have obviously more songs, more sides than the regular album. Still, I mean, this one looks pretty good as well. There is some browning you see here, but most of it does not have anything. It looks, and it's not ripped, not cut, no big spots, no anything like that. And the last thing, like, you know, for the regular White Album, I'm not going to open it completely, but it's the poster. And this one, thankfully, looks absolutely pristine, looks like new. So this concludes the showcase of my alternate mono collection, the Japanese 82-86 mix of the original mono albums by the Beatles, released as part of these two limited edition collections in 82 and 86 on red translucent vinyl, collected by me in this blue box because I had no other option. I would really have loved to find online to buy the red box that was released in some countries, I think, or I'm not really sure how many countries had it, but there was this red version of this box for the mono albums. That one would have fitted really well with this, but still, my alternate mono collection of the Beatles albums, I'm really happy. They sound really excellent. If you are thinking about it, if you are currently in the process of finding mono versions of these albums online and looking on Discogs or elsewhere, and you are kind of, you know, on the fence about getting 2014 ones, or trying to get the box set from 2025, or getting individual copies from different eras, if you want really near mint copies, I'm guessing the ones from Japan 82, 86 and the ones from 2014 are your best bet in terms of pricing and actually finding near mint copies. And I can tell you, these Japanese ones sound to me excellent. Well, this kind of concludes our video for today. I feel kind of super cringe when I have to do like calls for action and ask people to subscribe and like and share and all of those stuff. Now we have hype. It's a new function where people can hype a video in the first 24 or 48 hours of its existence, I think. And then maybe YouTube for smaller YouTube channels, smaller creators, it decides to push it more. I don't even know what hype does, to be honest. So I hate kind of doing that, but what I want to do is I want to thank you very much for watching. And also this one is, I'm super interested in your reactions in the comments regarding the Japanese records in general, but Beatles pressings especially, and especially these mono pressings for the 80s. Do you have them? Did you have them? Were you able to compare ever these to other pressings and draw different conclusions than I have? That one I'm really interested to hear about. So again, thank you very much for watching, and I hope I'll see you next time.